Hey everybody, it's Brian Pulido, proud publisher of Coffin Comics, and if it's September, it's CrucialCon. Today I'm here with co-writer Mike MacLean.
Hey everybody!
And today we are going to announce to you the Coffin Comics 2023 publishing schedule. That's right, we are ahead of the game. Mike and I have actually completed the storytelling element of next year, and we cannot wait to reveal it to you. So without further ado, let's get right to it. First up, here is the theme, Evilverse Unleashed. That's right, Evilverse Unleashed is our theme for the year. Each one of our stories is going to relate to that premise, Evilverse. More on that soon. First up, coming in February, is Lady Death Cybernetic Desecration. And here's the story. Our Lady Death is thrust into an alternative dystopian future Earth where her evil persona, Empress Death, has nearly extinguished the human race. Now, Empress Death's mission is to murder the last 999 souls on Earth and finally achieve Megadeath, the death of all life on Earth. Can Lady Death, weaponless and alone, navigate this nightmare and defeat the most evil foe she has ever faced and return to her timeline unscathed? Lady Death's reality will be upended as she meets allies who are now enemies, enemies who are now allies, and the most mind-bending Lady Death story told to date. Are you ready for this? Guest starring Commander Xander, Madam Midnight, Kid Devil, The Trust, and more. That's Lady Death Cybernetic Desecration coming in February. More on that in a moment. Next up, coming in May, we have La Muerta Devious Chapter 9. Take it away, Mike.
So in La Muerta Devious, we have a killer who stalks the midnight streets of Mexico City, ruthlessly eliminating its criminal elite. Who is this killer? What motivates her murderous ways? And why does she wear the skull face of the infamous vigilante La Muerta? When innocents are caught in the crossfire, Maria Diaz, the real La Muerta, makes it her mission to track the imposter down. Soon, Maria and her former lover, Detective King, find themselves embroiled in a cartel war that threatens to bathe Mexico City in blood. Can Maria stop the merciless pretender, or will a dark family secret finally lure La Muerta to her demise? Find out in the brutal, bullet-written pages of La Muerta Devious.
Oh, I'm so excited for you guys and gals out there to see that one. But let's continue the madness as Evilverse continues in Lady Death Imperial Requiem. Stranded in an alternative dystopian future Earth where her evil persona Empress Death has nearly extinguished the human race, things get worse for our Lady Death. Empress Death's mission to murder the last 999 souls on Earth and finally achieve Megadeath is within her reach thanks to her nefarious team of monsters, Death Force. Can Lady Death, aided by the superheroic team The Trust, conquer the cruelest opponent she's ever faced and overcome insurmountable odds? Or will Empress Death be victorious and set her murderous sights on our Earth? Lady Death's reality will be shattered as she confronts soul-crushing loss in the most heart-wrenching Lady Death story told to date. Guest starring Chaotica, Matthias, and Mad Mike Morg. Whoa! And then next up, rounding out the year in the theme of Evilverse Unleashed, we have Hell Witch.
Bitchcraft! Hell Witch Bitchcraft. So in Bitchcraft, having barely survived the horrific events of Hell Witch Forbidden, our fiendish femme fatale is immediately caught in the middle of a bloody power play. Now, to save her lover Nikita, Hell Witch must journey back to hell and fight alongside a mortal enemy, an angelic hybrid with extraordinary powers named Angel Vex. Can Hell Witch defeat an army of ruthless hellborn assassins bent on revenge, or will she fall prey to the traitorous machinations of a once trusted ally? Find out in Hell Witch Hunted Bitchcraft 48 pages of bloodshed, desire, and betrayal from Coffin Comics.
That's right, everybody. That's the main storyline that we will be discussing. Additionally, not yet scheduled, but with release dates to be announced, we have Lady Satanis, Sinister Urge, and Chaotica, Spellbound. These are wonderful carryover stories that we are now in production. More on them later. So Mike, our theme this year for the company overall is Evilverse Unleashed. Are there any tidbits that we can tell the readers and collectors about what we're doing there?
Well, think about mirrors and the evil face that could be in the mirror looking at our characters. So it's almost a twisted, darker version of each of our characters become their nemesis.
That's exactly right. Early on in the creative process, I brought some ideas to the premise, which was my love and adoration of Star Trek mirror stories. If you haven't seen any, they're just a lot of fun. It's usually where members of the Enterprise meet their evil counterparts. But that's not all. Since I'm a comic book guy, I really love these what-if stories. In Marvel, I've liked storylines like the Age of Apocalypse, where enemies become allies, allies become enemies, characters you love and adore die, they're just stolen from you because the storylines are ripe with possibility. You could do almost anything. And then I think, as you know, the other thing in the case of Lady Death that I was interested in was the amplitude of the 90s comics. There was an amplitude in these crazy Image comics, Marvel comics, where the art was very, very dominant. And I wanted to sort of pay homage to that in the Lady Death. Now, how did you express Evilverse in La Muerta Devious?
Well, La Muerta Devious, we took her out in the last issue in Primeval. We have her in not an urban jungle, but an actual jungle. And in Devious, we take her to a different urban setting, Mexico City. So she's out of her own element in Mexico City.
She's out of the country.
Out of the country, where she faces an enemy that's going to have some dark surprises. One that's going to maybe go a little further than La Muerta would ever go. So it's going to be an interesting conflict with this character. And like I said before, it's going to tie back to the dark family secret.
One thing I can tell you on August's Lady Death Imperial Requiem, that's the second half of this overarching story. And this is the part of the story where maybe it begins on a sense of victory. But I must tell you, Mike, this story slides into the dark soul. And everything that Lady Death knows and loves is ripped from her. I don't want to tell too much, but imagine she is meeting counterparts of everyone she knows. Her father, her daughter, her son, who's alive, who's dead. There were times I think I had to call you or communicate with you via email and say, man, this is hard to write because she just has to go, she goes down a very, very dark path. And whether she pulls it off or not is just a whole other story. How does the Evilverse premise, Evilverse Unleashed premise, apply to Hell Witch?
Well, Hell Witch is paired with a character, Angel Vex, who seems kind of almost the anti-Hell Witch, right? She is what's good, but she's just as ruthless as Hell Witch in her mission. So she's going to have to face this character, Angel Vex, and sometimes enemies become friends, friends become enemies. There's also a traitor in the midst, somebody who is a former ally of Hell Witch who will betray her.
Well, folks, that's just a little sampling of what's coming for the Coffin Comics 2023 publishing schedule for our main storyline, which is called Evilverse Unleashed. I want to thank you for listening in, and I want to thank Mike MacLean for the fun that we've been having writing these stories together, and we hope that when they come out, you enjoy them. Anything you want to say to the people?
Just as always, thank you for supporting Coffin. You guys rule out there.
You guys do rule, man. You've been great. We've been the Coffin Comics crew. Talk to you soon. Thank you. Evilverse Unleashed.